my 40 years of fighting fire, I've never seen fire behavior so extreme as it was yesterday.
1,700 miles across the country, a different kind of disaster is unfolding in Louisiana. Both events follow a July that was the planet's single hottest month since records began in the 19th century.
There are many climate solutions. Creating an infrastructure that makes clean energy go mainstream is an essential one. Electricity and heating are still the number one source of our greenhouse gas emissions.
That money wants to get profit. That investment wants to be returned with a profit. The people who financed all of that are not eager to change quickly.
It takes time, effort, and dedicated people to green the utility business. Here is a story from Colorado.
Intelligent development is oh so very relevant. Now is the time to reduce our CO2.
To understand this story, one needs to know that electrical utilities are regulated on state level by utility regulatory commissions.
Those of us who work in the electricity business know that there are some states where the utility gets anything they want. Some of that is because of the regulators. Some of that is also because of the state legislatures that pass laws tying the hands of the regulators. We also know that there are some states where regulators are real innovators.
Colorado passed the nation's first renewable energy standard in 2004, a mandate for utilities to obtain a minimum percentage of their power from renewable sources. The state now has one of the highest clean energy requirements of all the states. Large investor-owned utilities must deliver 30% of their energy from renewables by 2020.
Innovation. It started back in 1881 when Xcel Energy first turned on the lights here in Denver. Back then, we were pioneering hydroelectric power. Clean, reliable, cutting edge.
Community leaders throughout the U.S. recognize the important opportunity and responsibility of electricity production and distribution and form their own public power systems rather than rely on privately owned businesses to provide this essential community service.
How are the utilities, whether they are public or private, responding to climate change?
Some utilities are responding in a really positive and inspiring way, embracing clean energy and energy efficiency, engaging with customers to find solutions. Unfortunately, it's a spectrum. Some utilities are responding with denial, with recalcitrance, and with well-funded opposition to any action to address climate change. The resistors to change and climate responsibility still outnumber the innovators.
Changing our lives could be so incredible. Sound the drum, bum bum, the time has come.
People of Boulder know firsthand that energy transition does not happen overnight. It is a step-by-step process.
Climate change was an issue that I heard about well before I built the house, which was one of the reasons to build the house. 75 is when I built it, and as far as I know, this was the first active and passive house in Boulder. It was my neighbor across the street. After I had put photovoltaic panels on the roof of my house, which you can see up there, he asked me, could he put them on his house? And we looked, and his roof is oriented the wrong way, and he's got big trees, and it just wouldn't work. So we walked out on the open space here that's behind our houses and said, well, you know, we could put up panels here, and everybody in the neighborhood could have panels all in one assembly, which would be cheaper and work out for everybody. Well, that isn't an allowed use on open space, but the idea was born.
have noticed several years
Yeah,
ago.
from Wyoming to New Mexico, the third largest, all right?
We weren't looking for the choir. We were looking for people that really understood the issue, had solutions to present, and to come together and present an initial draft action plan for our city, but also something that other communities in Colorado could use.
And so we started to concoct this idea of condominiumized solar, community solar. And I was part of the drafting team, fortunate enough to be part of the drafting team that wrote Colorado's Solar Gardens legislation to be able to create that mechanism that allows people more access to solar.
Colorado legislators listened to sustainability activists from Boulder and passed the Colorado Community Solar Gardens Act in 2010.
We've really seen a lot of large-scale solar projects come about.
The importance of addressing our supply side really became a focal point for a small group of really engaged citizens who came to the city and really encouraged us to take a very hard look at our relationship with our current energy provider, electricity provider.
Some grassroots people, actually mostly working out of Boulder, drove the creation of a green choice program that was so successful it shocked the utility. And they realized that the one kind of energy they could always sell to customers was the green stuff.
Today, Xcel Energy is a national leader in renewables. And now, we're pioneering a new approach that will one day give you even more freedom to choose where your power comes from, based on your own personal needs.
In 2010, with the approval of a majority of its council members and citizens, Boulder started looking into how to municipalize its utility.
So, for example, in a regulated state like Colorado, our utility provider isn't able to provide or give us anything different than other surrounding communities, even if we were willing to pay for that. And that really has been, I think, at the forefront of our efforts over the past 5 or 6 years, which is how do you create the new business model, the new utility that really helps us transition into a 100% fossil fuel-free economy.
When Boulder says we want to go to 100% renewable energy, Xcel says we're moving, but not so fast. We still want to make money on our old coal plants. We still want to make money on our natural gas power plants. We still want to make money at central station plants and not have you make it yourself.
They think they really need to do their homework thoroughly, more thoroughly than they've already done, to make sure that they're really capable of doing the job as successfully, at least, as Xcel Energy has done.
I would like them to work together. It's always better if it's a team effort.
You know, I've really been behind Boulder's attempt to get a hold of their energy themselves. I know it's a very complicated issue.
Yeah, it's a bit more of a fight, but you know, it's an important one for sure. So I appreciate it, and it is complex, and we can do a better job at helping people understand the choices that we're making for sure.
Monopoly. We're talking a fairly big project, and we want to do something. We have sort of a shorter term goal.
Oh, we were going to municipalize the state. I didn't know.
Getting to be the place where that moment of change happens again.
Regardless of what happens with municipalization, so regardless, we'll keep pushing forward and we'll devise new strategies, whether it's legislative or regulatory, or whether we just look for technological solutions here at the local level.
They are also not alone. It's happening everywhere. Community choice aggregation is happening in cities up and down California. New York has community choice aggregation. States have renewable energy standards in over half the states, trying to increase the amount of renewable energy. We simply do not have time, in terms of addressing climate change, to wait for the utility industry to do it on their own. We're not waiting for a scientific breakthrough. What we're waiting for is public community willpower. And the only way that our leaders will ever know that we have the will is by telling them.
4, 3, 2, 1.
You may look back, you may think what you did, and I certainly had this experience myself, I just did something that was completely a failure, and then look back in a week or a month or a year or 5 years and gone, okay.
It was a seed.
All of a sudden, it was a seed for something that moved things forward. And there's simply no way to know. So you might as well keep putting the effort in.